That's right, I don't need a suit to be credible in front of you today. I don't need a title to precede me. And I definitely don't need an office to convey that I've made it. I'm in no way vilifying those three things. In fact, they've been kind of a common theme throughout my life and on my journey to becoming an entrepreneur. See, I'm from a small town, and I'm not knocking small towns in any way, but what I was exposed to there on one side of my family, it was 2 generations of educators. On the other side of my family, a lot of farmers. So my parents always instilled in me that you go to college, you get a good job, and you get health benefits. I mean, those were keys to success. And my dad used to say, I'll know when you made it because you can buy us dinner. And so that was kind of my measure of success. So my parents are wonderful people, and their parenting philosophy was very simple. I'm the oldest of 3 girls, and they wanted to keep us little girls as long as possible. I happened to share my mother's love of reading and old movies and musical theater. And my dad, God bless him, was a basketball coach with 3 girls, 2 of whom are severely uncoordinated. Yes, that's me. But I wanted to make him happy, and he would have been happy anyway, so I was the only girl on my 5th grade boys basketball team. But when I hit junior high, you know, we all have this thing called the freak flag, and I think sometimes I just flew mine a little too high at a time when everyone's watching everything you do in junior high. So while people in my class were talking about New Kids on the Block and the latest heartthrobs, I asked for the complete Doris Day movie collection for Christmas on VHS. And I always wondered why my jokes about please don't eat the daisies and pillow talk fell flat with my peers. And then my parents, I thank them for this to this day, realized there was a local community theater organization, and they put me in it, and it was like the mothership calling me home. It was like, here's where all the weirdos are, you know. I met my people. And it is actually a really influential part of my life because while it was a hobby, it's not something I would do professionally, it helped me develop a voice, develop stage presence, and become more confident in front of people. And that it helped me land my first job. It's helping me be here in front of you today. So musical theater was the thing I really clung to, and went away to college thinking, you know, my dream was to be on Broadway, and after 2 weeks, completely quit the program. And I realized it was a true hobby, not a professional calling. And, you know, I was 17 years old with a, you know, $30,000 a year education, no better time to figure out what I want to do. So I met with an advisor and my parents and did a lot of brainstorming, actually took it very seriously and discovered communications and public relations. I didn't really know those terms, but when I heard about what went on in the profession, I was like, I've been doing that since I was 2, promoting things, bringing people together. It was like I had tea parties at 2. I used to put on productions and invite the whole neighborhood and bring people together. So it was very much in line with what I wanted to do. And then a huge change in my life. I landed my first job with the largest healthcare system in Chicago and had a mentor who was extremely influential in my life. If you were to look at my report cards as a grade school student or high school student or even collegiate student, I am not by any means would be considered a smart or not well-educated, but a smart person on paper. You know, a BC, very average student. I always struggled with feeling like I wasn't intelligent, but knew that I had a lot I wanted to say and a lot I wanted to do. And my first mentor really helped me discover that intelligence wasn't only marked by grades, that it's what you're able to accomplish. And she used to tell me this story. She'd say, Sarah, you're like this flower that's been planted under concrete, and at some point you've got these really strong roots and you're gonna burst through and you're going to do something. She said, I have a feeling about you. And I always kept that with me because I was like, well, is tomorrow the day? Tomorrow do I bust through? When do I bust through? And she used to tell me I was like this wild stallion, and she said, I can't even give you a project until I know it can be fully executed on because I have to let you go and I have to rein you in. And for good or for bad, that is how I am. She also helped me develop a life mission statement. I developed this mission statement almost 11 years ago, and it still drives everything that I do today. And it goes like this. I run unabashedly free through this one life without fear. I expect the unexpected. I believe in abundance. I live. That first part about fear is really, really important because I am high energy, but I'm also highly anxious. And I'm very much can let fear control me. And until I put it in words and kept that mission statement in front of me, I now know when something scares me that I have to do it, hence being in front of you today. But that life mission statement really set me on a new trajectory in my career. And when my time ran its course at that organization, it was about the same time when social media was kind of evolving and becoming the next big thing. And I developed my first proposal called an Emerging Technologies Plan. And it was completely rejected by management. You know, I was that crazy kid in her 20s who wanted to get on the interwebs and try to talk to people. And it was just, and I felt like the crazy person, but I was the one in the room saying, this is where communication is headed. I promise you, I don't have anything to back it up yet, but this is where people are going. Here's what online habits are looking like. And I left that organization because they just didn't care for it. And then I went to work for an agency, and they brought me in to start their online program, but many of the clients weren't ready for it. And so then I became director of communications at a community college. And I realized that my love of technology and social media was consuming a lot of my time. In fact, it became my hobby. And I started blogging and writing about where I saw the communications industry going. And it started bringing in freelance work. And I was like, wow, people want to hire me to tell them what I'm telling them for free online? And I essentially had this wonderful, safe, steady job at the community college. They had daycare for when I was ready to start a family. It was just one of those jobs you could stay at forever. But I realized that I wasn't happy. And it was this entrepreneurial spirit driving me forward, so I worked myself out of a job. I mean, I probably would have been fired, but I worked myself out of a job. And I started my own company. And my family, they were supportive, but they were completely freaked out. And when you ask them what I do to this day, they're like, something with Twitter? Facebook? I mean, I had friends who were like, do you work for Facebook? No, I do not. And because I really believed in what I was doing, I was lucky enough to build a really strong online community of other public relations and communications professionals. And the first time it really clicked with me that I guess I was on to something big, and this whole new way of communicating was going to work was about 4 years ago. I was in a suburb of Chicago, and the local crisis center director came to me and said, we're about to close our doors. We need $150,000 in the next 3 weeks, or all of our clients, these women and children, are going to be back in the homes they were trying to leave, people with addiction or homeless were going to be put back into the situation that they came from and needed the crisis center for. And I didn't know this director, she didn't know me, and she said, well, I heard you do something online, and can you help us? And I said, well, have you ever been in this situation before? What did you do? She said, well, in the past, we brought a reporter in. He or she would stay the night and document their experience. And I said, well, what if I do that? What if I come in? At the time, my online community had a larger circulation, distribution than our local community paper. So he said, let's try it out. Luckily, I have a strong communications background, so we developed a great campaign with very clear messaging, black and white text only. We didn't want to show that we were spending any type of money on a campaign asking people what we were going to ask them, which was for money to save this crisis center. And the reason in my title I say I didn't need a suit to be successful is because when I stayed the night at this crisis center, I essentially not only bared my soul, but the souls of people involved there, and I was definitely not wearing a suit because it was like 110 degrees, and they couldn't afford to have the air conditioning on. So, you know, I was in a tank top and sweatpants. But what happened that night was, I guess you could say, a modern miracle. I know, a miracle. It's a miracle. And over the night, I documented my experience, everything from going through what it would be like to go through a rape kit after experiencing rape, to speaking with a woman who didn't speak English but came from an abusive household and was pregnant, and I got to document and share her story. By the next morning, we had something like $70,000 raised. These weren't just people from our community, but people from my online community all over the United States and Canada. And something else amazing happened. People from the community who didn't use social media but were so excited about the prospect of using a new type of communication to reach people started coming down to the crisis center and dropping off donations. Kids were coming out, and people were bringing food and other necessities that were needed by the crisis center. And it didn't stop that night. Within 3 weeks, we had raised $160,000 for that crisis center and saved them and kept their doors open. And it will forever have a special place in my heart, because now I don't think you can go 5 minutes without somebody for asking money on Twitter or Facebook or your local social networks. So it was a very special time. It's not something that I necessarily think can be recreated, but I love that it was put to really good use. And that's not my only fun miracle social media story. There's more. A few years ago, I was the proud recipient of as part of a team, one of the very first Guinness Book World Record for the most mentions of a single online term. It was since beaten by a guy you might know as Justin Bieber, who got Bieberized. And then it was totally trumped by our current president, Barack Obama. But this phrase was beat cancer. And I worked with a team of wonderful people, and we said, what's a way we can make a difference using online communications in a way that's really easy for people and that they can do good and benefit a whole bunch of cancer-related charities. So we leveraged the largest blogger conference in the world, got the founders involved, landed some amazing sponsors, got Guinness Book involved. We got everything donated and set up a phenomenal campaign. And when that conference launched, every single speaker had signed up to promise to share that phrase at one point during the day. And that small, relatively small when you think about the population of the world, that relatively small group of people committing to share a message like that ended up being the top trending topic for almost 48 hours on Twitter, had hundreds of thousands of entries, got celebrities on board, and connected charities to people that they had not been able to reach prior in a whole new way. And it sparked a new kind of movement for how things are done online. So I guess my reason for telling you those two specific stories is because you might sometimes think that you are just one person, or you might be one of those people who says, I want to change the world. And I challenge you just a bit to think about how you can challenge part of the world. I think the idea of changing the entire world can be so overwhelming that many of us feel like we failed when we've actually accomplished something really great. And I feel like I've been able to help change part of the world, and I hope that I can keep doing that. And the most beautiful thing about all of this is that it's helped me lead to my version of success, which means a husband who can now stay home with our 16-month-old son. We just moved cross-country to Vegas. I can work from home when needed, and I do have an office. It's great. And I don't have to wear a suit to work because that's how I work best. And hopefully when I work best, I can put forth what's best for the world, for my clients, for whoever I'm working with. And I hope that you can do the same, and I hope this just serves as an inspiration. And I don't think that excuse me. It's just a really special time, this time that we're in right now, with the communications we have available, and the ideas in this room are so powerful and so passionate. And I just challenge you to remember that every single day, even when things feel like maybe you've given all you can give and don't see results, that you can. So thank you very much for your time today. I appreciate it.